We're going to get right back into some more Mueller time. Crack open a Mueller.
Back in the Mueller saddle.
Back in the Mueller again. Hey, listen, we like I want comments, man. We're growing. We've only done this a month, folks.
Yeah, I see some people are trashing me on Facebook as we speak.
I don't know who they're trashing, but Miss Murphy, I thank you for just interacting, and we much appreciate that. If you are listening, you're fucking cool, man. You're cooler than everybody that you're around. I'll tell you that.
And so
right
much
now.
smarter.
Yes,
now, listen,
clearly.
I want to respond to a couple of these because you just totally dogged us on the tail end of that one. So obviously this was not what the Democrats wanted. Let's just say that is obvious, to say the least. But I think a couple of interesting things to note. So did you know William Hurd? So he was an ex-CIA agent, and he questioned Mueller, and he got some good answers, and it seems like he kind of sides with the Dems. And I think it's important to note that people, when they leave office, side with the Dems. John McCain, true patriots like that seem to side with the Dems. CIA agents seem to side with the Dems. And so I just wonder, Republicans, yes, you want to win, and yes, you want your party to be in power, and maybe you like Donald Trump personally for some reason, but at the cost of what the tearing that it's doing to the fabric of the nation, knowing that most people know it's kind of bullshit, a lot of the shit that he says, and that he's not on the right side of a lot of things, is it really worth it? I just wonder what Republicans are actually going to get out of this. And I kind of feel like you guys have run out of runway a little bit. Trump is running out of friends. He's running out of racism runway, and he's kind of like a car that's been pulled back.
Racism runway.
And so,
did you make that up?
Yeah. And so when you pull
fucking classic.
When you pull that Trump card back, yeah. I mean, what is he going to do next? Just tweet the N-word? He's out of racism runway, right?
It's funny because a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
By the
when
way.
you pull that card back,
every rap
you
song.
keep pulling that card back. It's either going to explode or it's going to take off like a rocket, and
Sure.
then it's going to be uncontrollable. So I just don't know where you guys are heading with on this. You got this big ball of lies that everybody's standing on top of, and now you're going to try to have an election in that environment. I think it's dangerous for Trump. I think he could lose in a huge landslide. I really do. I mean, he could also win. He could win. There's no doubt about that. But he could get shellacked.
Let me tell you what. I appreciate everything you said, but I can't even get the fucking term racism runway out of my head, and I'm going to write a country song called that.
Go ahead and do it. And
right.
Donald Trump can sing it.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
I'm
And
going to write the lyrics
Trump Jr. can be the backup
Absolutely.
singer with fucking Eric Trump and
I'm
Ivanka.
on a racism runway. Yeah. Don't know where to get off. Oh, I'm going to write a fucking song. Trust me.
Yeah. I get a co-writer on that, dude.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I want my money.
You created that. That's fucking yours, man. Yeah, that's fucking great. ASCAP for Pat there. ASCAP. All right, so anyways, listen. You touched on a lot of things that were outside the Mueller box. So you just hate Trump and he's racist and all that. And we probably will eventually talk about Ilhan Omar and what's going on with that, because there is some what people perceive some racist shit
like
going
this,
on.
like Devin Nunes, right? He was one of the people. He went to the White House. Trump told him that they had been picked up in some surveillance. So Devin Nunes had a fake press conference where he said that he was outing this information. Didn't acknowledge he got it from the White House, which it turned out he did. And now he's just flat out lying in a hearing under oath. And now they want to make him the head of the DNI. So he's going to be the director of national intelligence. This guy who can't even be trusted at all.
Well, he's a Trump loyalist, so he earned his way because he was one of those
but you
people
want to
that was
get
Trump,
Coates
Trump,
out
Trump,
of
Trump,
office, though, who's not a Trump loyalist, and you put this Trump loyalist in, so now he has
Right.
all of the nation's information. I mean, I don't know, dude. That sounds pretty unethical to me.
Pretty interesting. We're going to put a bow on the Mueller report because we got a lot more to cover. At the end of the day, here's some bullet points you can leave with. It was embarrassing. Didn't totally help the Dems. He did feed the exoneration thing that he did not exonerate Trump, where Trump has gone on record as saying, I'm exonerated of everything. He did make that point, made a lot of mistakes. Possible dementia. If it ain't dementia, it's drugs and alcohol, which is probably worse. So,
but what about this last thing, too? He said clearly that Trump can not only be charged after office with crimes, but he can be charged with the obstruction crimes that we know he probably committed while he was in office. So Mueller kind of, I think, is like this. He's like, you know what? I shouldn't be here, so I'm going to tank this hearing because I already wrapped everything up with a bow. This guy's going to get arrested at the end of this anyway. So why are we even having all these silly talk? Because all this talk is meaningly political nonsense, because the law will come for him when he's due after office.
It's out of his hands, and we know
that's
he's not
how
a Trump
I think
fan.
that he kind of felt, and that's how I think he left it. I don't think it was a win for the Democrats. I'll agree with you there, but I do think that it adds to the cracks that are already into Trump Tower, and it strips his ability to use some of his tools in the election. He can't say no obstruction anymore. He can't say no collusion anymore. He can't use any of those key words that he likes to use. So in that aspect, it's a tiny little victory.
Well, we talked about this in a previous episode of Ruthless Politics, episode number 5. You're listening to right now, the Big Cinco
de Show.
Everybody who's coming over in a caravan is listening to the Big Cinco. The bottom line is the door will be open for possible criminal charges for this guy when he's out of office. I think that's 100%. I fear for that for Trump. I think he even knows that. Will he have lawyers to try to fight it? Absolutely.
If he
we'll see how
gets
that goes.
reelected, should a president
he's gonna
be
get
able?
reelected.
Yeah, but should a president be able to stay out the statute of limitations? So, like, if you, because the statute of limitations is less than 2 terms in office. So it's really interesting. If you're president, I think that's something they're going to have to address, whether it's with Trump or not.
Yeah.
But he's exposed something. If you commit a crime and then you become president, you can outstay, because 8 years is longer than the statute of limitations.
It's a rare
you can
thing
avoid
to
arrest.
achieve. Yeah,
it's a rare thing to achieve.
You know what? If you can get to president, then you should be able to duck that
no one
out.
should be above the law. That's
no,
my
they
argument.
shouldn't. Absolutely. But all these politicians are too, because they should all be in jail too for shit.
Oh, and
they
there's
do.
loopholes all over the law that people are enjoying
unfortunately.
every day. This is just one that's in our face.
Absolutely. But I will say this. You guys will have your moment, and God rue the day that if a Democrat, after Trump gets reelected, which I fully believe, but you guys will ping pong. We've talked about this before. You will inevitably win the presidency again. And when you do, and it very well may be after Trump does a second term, that will be the moment you go after this guy in his personal civilian life.
I believe that every dog has his day. I think the country is itching for justice. I think something has to happen to Trump, from dodging the draft way back when to avoiding taxes to being in the Russians' pocket. We have a client who was on Survivor. He had a friend that was also on Survivor. That friend was the judge in Miss Universe in 1982. Trump came up to him as a judge and said, "You need to vote for this girl to win. She's Miss Russia," and she was Putin's girlfriend at the time. This is all the way back to 1982. Then she got the highest score in the swimsuit competition ever. She became Miss Universe, and then she quit because Putin didn't want her traveling around the world. So I'm just saying the Russian connections with these two people.
So you're saying he has great taste in women, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm saying he's been working hand in hand with the Russians for literally his entire life.
Well, did you ever hear? Sometimes you grab him by the pussy, and sometimes you grab him by the Putin.
Sometimes you grab
in
him by
Russia,
the Putin.
you grab him by the Putin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated with Russian culture. I think it's an interesting concept where it's like, I'm going to be a dictator, but I'm going to give you all the freedom in the world. You can gamble, you can have drugs, you can have prostitution, you can have whatever you want. Just leave me in as dictator.
Well,
and it seems like the Russian people are thrilled with that deal.
Well, first of all, they're a very old country, so a lot of history there.
And they're a history of used to being kind of under the iron fist.
Yeah, they've had some real tough. Spoiler alert: they have some bad dictators in their past. But the thing is, it's interesting. You just said too is they have a huge mafia culture there as well. Like the Russian mob really holds a lot of weight, and it's infiltrated just like we love Scarface and Goodfellas and all that shit. They revere that shit over there too. The same way all these Latins revered El Chapo.
Ted Cruz once said about Trump. He said history doesn't look good on the guy that holds Stalin's coat or something like that.
Right.
And then now he just totally kisses Trump's ass every day. Hilarious.
Yeah, well, he knows. He got
full circle on that one there, fucking Ted.
Ted Cruz. I've gotten to like Ted Cruz is like on Steven Crowder, and he does a lot more appearances, and he's growing a beard. He's got more fun as he's won re-election.
He's loosened up a little bit because he's been totally trashed in the media. Let me tell you, as somebody who gets totally trashed online all the time, at first you hate it, and then you realize there's no freedom like it. Once the whole internet goes through your whole identity and destroys it, you have nothing left to lose. You're totally free to say whatever you want, host a podcast called Ruthless Politics, and do whatever you want. So, embrace it, Ted Cruz. You're free now, buddy.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is sitting just fine.